You are watching this channel. Join us as we explore the magnificent history of ancient Egypt. Ramses the Pigeon King. Ramses is one of the most notorious names in history. And it's not just Ramses the Pigeon who has become famous through the ages. His full name was User-Matra, Setuankh Ramses, which means, "Powerful is the measure of Ra, chosen of Ra." The reason why he became known as Ramses the Pigeon came later when the Greeks arrived and they took his name and misspelled it to Artaxerxes Onius. This is according to Herodotus, who wrote that the Greeks could not pronounce the name Ramses, so they renamed him Artaxerxes. But there are no hieroglyphic records from the time that support this story. In fact, the only written evidence we have for the story comes from Greek historians who wrote centuries after Ramses the Pigeon had died. So I take this story with a grain of salt, but it's a fun story nevertheless. As usual, he also had other names during his reign. He called himself the New King, and he called himself the Good King. In Nubia, he was worshipped as the living god Amun, and the Nubians even made their own pyramids in his honor. Unfortunately, many of his monuments were destroyed by later rulers, such as Hatshepsut and her successors, and many of them were destroyed again by the Islamic authorities after the Arab conquest. Nevertheless, a few of his monuments still remain, and some of them show that he was probably the greatest ruler of the New Kingdom. The boy who would become the infamous Ramses the Pigeon was born around 1303 BCE, and his father was Seti I, while his mother was the queen, Tuya. Not much is known about his early life, but in year 21 of his father's reign, he married his first wife, the beautiful Nefertari, and he had 2 sons with her. After the death of Seti I, Ramses II inherited the throne and became the 3rd pharaoh of the 19th dynasty. However, the reign of Seti was a period of peace and prosperity, and Ramses II continued this trend. His empire reached from the Levant to Nubia, and he ruled over a prosperous kingdom. Thanks to the trade along the Mediterranean, Egypt got rich and the treasury overflowed. It gave the young pharaoh a lot of money to spend on building projects, military campaigns, and maintaining the temples. And he did exactly that. During his long reign, he built more temples than any other ruler, I believe. Most of these temples were built in honor of Amun, Ra, and Ptah, but he also built temples for all the other gods of the Egyptian pantheon. His most famous temples are undoubtedly the Ramesseum, which was his mortuary temple, and the temple complex at Abu Simbel, which is carved into the mountainside and features 4 giant statues of the king. Abu Simbel is now on the UNESCO World Heritage List and is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But of course, there are hundreds of other temples built by Ramesses II throughout Egypt, and some of them are hidden in very remote locations in the eastern desert. In addition to these temples, he also built several great works in the city of Pi-Ramesses, which was founded by his father, Seti I. This city was located near the modern city of Suez, and it became the new capital of Egypt. The ruins of this city are now underwater because the Suez Canal goes right through it. But at its peak, it was a sprawling metropolis with wide boulevards, impressive palaces, and thousands of homes. In the city, Ramses II built his palace at the center of the city, and it became the royal residence for many generations to come. Like his father before him, Ramses II waged war against the Hittites in the north. In the 2nd year of his reign, he defeated the Canaanites in the Syrian desert, and he returned to Egypt with thousands of prisoners and untold riches. Just like his father, he campaigned in the Levant, and he fought battles in the regions of Kadesh and Aphek. The Battle of Kadesh was a major confrontation between the Egyptians and the Hittites, and it took place in the 4th year of Ramesses II's reign. It is considered to be the world's first battle where chariots played a major role. And despite being outnumbered, the Egyptians were victorious. According to Egyptian sources, Ramesses II killed many enemy soldiers and captured the Hittite king's wife. However, this version of events is almost certainly propaganda. since the Hittite king's wife was probably never captured and she probably didn't even live in the same city as her husband. Ramses the Pigeon liked to boast about his victories in the Levant, and he even claimed that he had defeated the Muwel rulers of Shechem, but these claims have been disputed. It seems that he tried everything to outdo his father, who was a great builder and a great warrior, and he succeeded. He lived for 66 years and reigned for 64 years, which made him the longest reigning pharaoh in Egyptian history. Some say he was the greatest pharaoh of the New Kingdom, but others say that Akhenaten deserves this title more. Regardless, he was an iconic leader who left a legacy that is unparalleled to this day. His wives and children. Ramses II married a lot of women during his lifetime. He had at least 6 great royal wives, but it is believed that he had many more secondary wives. The most famous of these wives was Nefertari, and she was one of the most influential women of the era. She was the great of praises, his beloved wife, and she acted as regent when the pharaoh was on campaign. Another one of his wives was Isetnofret, and she was the mother of his successor Merneptah. Their daughter, Princess Hanut, was also famous because she became the wife of her half-brother, the future pharaoh Seti II. Then there was Nahit, who was the daughter of the Libyan chieftain, and she was the mother of Ramesses, the pigeon's oldest son, whose name was Crown Prince Amun. This makes Nahit the grandmother of Egypt's next pharaoh. In addition to these women, Ramses II had many concubines and secondary wives, but the majority of their names are unknown. Amun and his possible assassination. After ruling for 64 years, Ramses the Pigeon decided to pass the throne to his eldest son, Amun. He made Amun co-regent in year 58 of his reign, but this caused a political crisis. There was a group of powerful officials who wanted Amun's younger brother, Merneptah, to inherit the throne instead. Since Amenhotep was the son of a secondary wife, many of the elite Egyptians felt that he was not fit to rule. Even though he had been groomed for the position for many years, the people who wanted Merneptah to become pharaoh were led by Merir, who was the vizier and the chancellor of the treasury. He used his power and influence to undermine Amun, and he plotted to take the throne for himself. However, he was unsuccessful, and he was executed by order of Ramses II. After the execution of Merir, Merir's son, who shared his name, fled to the court of the Hittite king. Soon afterwards, the Hittite king invaded Egypt and sacked several cities, but he was defeated by Ramses II at the Battle of Kadesh. After the battle, the Hittite king imprisoned the escaped conspirator and returned to Anatolia. When Ramses the Pigeon passed the throne to his son, he began to suffer from mysterious ailments. Historians believe that he was poisoned by one of his wives, and it is likely that he died as a result of this poisoning. When his son, Amun, died in year 7 of his reign, he was succeeded by his younger brother, Merneptah. Merneptah ruled for 7 years, and he built several temples across Egypt. After his death, the throne passed to another brother of theirs, Seti II, who reigned for 13 years. Then the throne passed to Amenhotep III, who was Merneptah's son, and he ruled for 40 years. Finally, the throne passed to Tusret, who was the last ruler of the 19th dynasty. I hope you enjoyed learning about one of the most famous rulers in history, Ramses the Pigeon. If you did, please subscribe and leave me a comment telling me what you think about this guy. Also, remember to join our community if you haven't yet. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.